Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Garage of Curiosities. Today we are working on the M610 some more. Parts showed up, things are looking good. We're still waiting on the alternator belt, but I think with the amount of work that we have to get done today, that can wait, that's just fine. So let's go over what we have, and then we'll probably get started. So, we've got, for starters, we've got a Baldwin oil filter, brand new. Doesn't have the rusty patina, and it's nice and orange, so sweet. So we got that. So we'll be changing the oil filter. We don't want to lose that. Shove that right there for now, or I will forget it. We've got the lighting wiring harness. So we got a wiring kit, and then we've got this light bar is going to go on the front, and then two of these little guys are going to go on the back, one in each corner. So I have two more that are going to go on the skid steer, or the excavator. So we don't worry about those two. There's the wiring harness already on the floor. I unboxed it to make sure that the length was correct. Let's see. Then we take it around. Here's our various different chemicals and fluids and pastes. We've got some nuts and bolts to mount the lighting onto the top of the skid steer. We've got some anti-seize. Oh my gosh, get away, dog. Silicone paste, electric grease. Then we've got some 10W30 oil and a catch pan. The Wisconsin engine takes, I think, a 30 is what it said. But everyone online recommended for a more modern oil, you can use 10W30. So that's what we're going to do. Air filter, brand new, showed up. And then also what I want to go through is I did redo the wiring over the last week or so. I didn't really have a lot of time to film. So that's the old wiring right there. And if we take a look at this, there's some green crusties. I did figure out where this red wire was supposed to go. We've got, the repairs. There's the old plug. Let's see, one of these, a wire was just missing out of the plug. Which I think might have been where that one originally went to. A whole mess. I basically rewired everything. I figured out a lot of it as I went. It took me a little too long to find the wiring diagram, so it's a bit hokey in the fact that I probably used incorrect colors, but it should all work. So let's go over that quick. Oh, and also we got new spark plugs. And when I was doing the wiring, I broke the ammeter, which I decided to just buy another ammeter instead of doing a battery voltage meter, just for why nots. So let me take you through the wiring quick, and then we'll probably do the plugs, and then we'll do the oil, and we'll see where that gets us. So wiring was a huge mess. These must have been to an old lighting kit or something. They actually were cut off. They were cut off in here. So what I basically did was stripped all of this down and documented the wiring on some paper, because for some reason the electrical part of the manual did not have an actual wiring diagram. I found it eventually under a different part of the service manual after I already had this first part of the wiring diagram done. So it made the back part easier, but this was a bit of a mess. But anywho, I've got the key. I've got the cylinder basically correct. This one, this wiring here just goes to one of the other knobs there. Everything's wired up correctly. This right here is for power for everything really. So we put one on there, and then this will plug in there. We haven't dived into this yet. For some reason, I kind of have a feeling I'm not going to be able to get it out until the cap comes off. So, and that's fine. The cab's got to come off anyway. But anywho, So this wire is new and now running correctly. It's supposed to run over here. I think before it was like over here somewhere. So this is just gonna, I need to tie this together still, but these two go here. This box is wired correctly and actually flipped upside down. I have it labeled on what all the posts are, 432 field. So when the alternator goes in, this will get wrapped up and be wired up correctly. Two of these go to the alternator. And then, so we basically now have, instead of one big loom, I ended up doing two small looms. We now have an inline fuse again, which is great. I had an auto plug kit, so I put two 4-pin plugs here, and they are weatherproof, so that's good. This one harness, one of these goes over here and then down, and then comes out to the starter and to the alternator. So that one random wire that was sitting around is one of those two down there. That's basically what it was. So I think that broke at some point. I think that was one of those super chewed up wires that then they just haphazardly ran, because, I mean, it was a bit of a pain. It took a little bit longer to fish it through there, but it wasn't terrible. The rest of the wiring runs down here and then comes down here, and this is where I think a lot of the sensors are. That, I think, has got to be maybe oil pressure sensor, or maybe that one. I don't know. One of those two is oil pressure sensor. This one runs to... I have not touched this yet, but that... Good God, I can solder better wasted. Holy shit, I'm not even that good at it. That right there, and then there is... Oh yeah, see, there's... Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to touch any of this because I've worked with distributors before. I've never seen this before. I'm not an expert on them, but I don't know what this is, and this is obviously hooked up to something. So what I'd like to do is replace this capacitor, because I'm not going to try and bumble these solders off, this crummy solder joint. So I'd replace the capacitor, replace this, but I don't know what this is yet. I'm assuming it's some form of external resistor, but I don't know why it's there. So, but anywho, so today, again, on the agenda, we got some new plugs to go in. We'll probably put the shroud on while we're at it. And then we will do an oil change. So that filter is going to come out, drain all the oil, put in fresh 10W30 synthetic. Why we can't get anything done here. And then we'll probably start on the light kit. I think the light kit's going to take the longest. Alternator belt's supposed to be here on Tuesday, so there will probably be another video when we wrap up the wiring, slap the alternator belt on, and start it. Oh, and I forgot about it. I got this too. Hey, quiet. I'm filming. Shush. We got this too, so we'll swap this on. Used. I didn't feel like paying Bobcat shipping prices, so this was 65 bucks. Is from all the eBay listings, this one looked the best. So we're gonna fix this somewhere on there too. So let me get started. Let me deal with these two, and yeah, we'll start swapping out plugs. All right, so now we're on the back side of the engine. And I was just getting some prep work here. Today we are replacing this with some fancy NGKs. Ta-da! Now, if I didn't know what I was doing, which is probably a stretch to say that I do, I would probably check these for gap first. So I'm going to YOLO swag them. I don't really recommend that if you're ever unsure. And in fact, I might check them later. I don't actually know. But all my tools for doing that are out in the shed, and it is a very frigid Minnesota day today. So it's a 7/8 socket. I actually don't have a spark plug socket that goes up to this size. So we're just using a good old 1/2 inch. righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Or if you're like me, it's counterclockwise to loosen and then clockwise to tighten. So, I'm used to filming live action shots, so I got to find places to put stuff. The good news is that these came out. I pulled one out on the other side to bring it to the auto parts store and just say, what you got? And they're pretty much, well, they're like, auto lights are pretty trash. But this thing's so old, they pretty much only have copper plugs. So pretty much went with another set of copper. I don't like copper, they just don't last long, but I think the amount of hours that I'm going to be putting on this, it's not terrible. They certainly look a little sooty. This one, let's see if we can't focus, looks, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that one looks sooty. Whatever. I don't know. They look okay. I don't know how long the thing's probably been running wonkus, so we're not going to worry about it. Not yet. But fresh plugs is always a good start. Those things look pretty rusty on the outside. So I like to use anti-seize on the threads. I just use a little bit. It makes getting them off way easier. I have a giant tub of it because I use anti-seize all the time. And then I just put in just a little bit here. And now what I'll sometimes do, depending on how much I care, I'll kind of thread it around with just my finger. Because I don't like getting blobs, especially around spark plugs. You don't want to get, really on the electrode too much. So, I mean, that's not the end of the world, but you want to get a thorough coating. So we'll get this one started here. Should document the hours when this actually gets done too. It's one of my worst habits. I'm not really good at writing stuff down when I do changes or anything like that. Swap these out too. Oh yeah, and if you're doing this yourself, it's AB6 2910 for the NGK. The auto lights were 386. So my local O'Reilly's just cross-referenced the auto lights and said, we can get you something better. I like NGKs. I'll use them frequently. So I can't really complain about it. But I'm not like an auto snob. I don't care. Hey man, if it creates spark and then generates combustion, yeah, see, that's a blob. Get an A in my book. So I'm just gonna spread that around, wipe that somewhere inconspicuous. And we'll thread this one in. Fresh plugs, there we go. Now, this is also where I'm not too particular about plugs as long as they're snug. So what we're going to do, and the way that I do it, is I just kind of do it until you basically, oh gosh, they're a different plug size. I didn't think about that. Okay, hold on. Hey, got my face. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. 13/16 is the new size, and I actually had one here. I didn't have to run out and go grab one. Anywho, I'm not an expert, or I shouldn't say an expert. I'm not particular over how tight spark plugs should be. I just kind of do them good enough, and it's never failed me yet. Also, hold that thought. We're going to do this. We don't want any of this. Well, 13/16 is the new bolt size, or the new spark plug size. Hex size, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I have one in stock. I didn't have to run out to the shed and get it. So, but back to what I was saying, I'm not too particular over, spark plug specs. I kind of just do it to where they feel snug enough. I know there's a torque spec to it. I have torque wrenches. It's kind of just the one thing I choose not to do, I guess. I feel like for a lot of auto, instances, it's frustrating to get the torque wrench in. And I don't run any kind of vehicle that has concerns with popping the plugs out. So these things are tight. Heard it click myself. I don't know about you. And now we're going to put on some dielectric grease. I have another big tub of silicone paste, dielectric grease. It's all, if it's the silicone paste and not like a spray, it's pretty much all the same. It reduces the chances of the boot tearing when you ever have to remove these again. It makes it way easier. Or if you're just dinking around with it. So you just do a little bit on there. Your auto parts store will sell little tiny packets of them. Those work just fine too. Pop these on. And there we go. And now we basically just go do the other side. We'll probably have to take those out again now that I think about it when we put the shroud on, because this is supposed to go on top of the shroud and then the plug goes through it. So, oops. But it's done. Pretty much all there is to it. I'm going to go do the other side quick. It's a little bit hard to film in there. Well, actually, here, maybe I'll bring you over here. You might be able to see me do the other side. Let's do a little live action adjusting here. Hopefully I don't get the camera all greasy. We'll just kind of do one of these. Boop, boop, boop. Ah, good enough, right? So I think you can see it. Good enough for government work, as they say. Perfect. Yeah, okay, cool. Well then, great. Let me get the other side going. Grab my various chemicals, and we'll get the other side all hooked up. So let me crawl into the cab. Hopefully not step on the plugs. Oh no. One right there. Pretty much it's just the same steps, except this one I do have the caps already, so, or the, I don't know, the shroud. Since the engine's air-cooled, airflow is very important for these things to remove heat. So we want to ensure with the best of our ability that, that's too much. With the best of our ability, that airflow is working correctly and all those fins over this engine are clean. So, because if they're not, you're gonna have problems. I was talking to my grandpa about this engine over the weekend, over Saturday, and he's like, yeah, those engines suck. I was like, cool, great. So you're not gonna help me, are you? He was a master mechanic for a road construction company and worked on a lot of stuff and just in general knows engines. And he's been doing engines his entire life. So slide this over. Gosh, is that really how that's supposed to work? Yeah, I think so. And he's all like, they're very frustrating. Oh, no, it's not how. Oh, gosh, we might run into a snag here. It's like they're frustrating to work on with the air cooling. And maybe go this way. No, oh, gosh, hey, we might run into a snag here. Hold on, let me show you. He's like, the frustrating work on the air cooling is just finicky. Yeah, so also we might have a problem here. So if you look, this doesn't fit. It is slightly, ever so slightly. Also sorry if the heater turned on, if it's a little loud. I'm standing right next to it. I don't know if that'll fly. Because the old one The old one rides all the way up onto basically the nut. And that has to be there. It has to ride up that far. So, shoot. It is just ever so slightly too small. Let me go check on a few things and then let's get back. So I'm gonna go see what tools I have in the frozen shed. All right, welcome back. I think I found a solution. I'm not sure how well you're gonna be able to see it, but step drill bits. So I don't think we got to go very far. So we're gonna I don't want to clamp this thing down too hard either and deform it. So we're gonna try and use our crummy vise here to get the job done. Oh, it does not like this. Oh. See, oh shit. See, now that's a new problem. Didn't think about that one, did I? Well, oh, shoot. I guess what we're going to do, that really didn't like make the hole that much bigger. So, interesting. I think what we'll have to do, and I'm going to worry about this later. This will be a post-production problem. So I think what we're going to have to do, because like it should be sitting like right here. And so now, of course, I didn't think about it that, you know, that is so much bigger, like this round part is. So I think I'll have to get like a kind of like a washer or something to push this down. For now, I'm just going to put the plugs on, and then I'll have to revisit this because I don't think I really damaged this one too much, so I don't want to muck around with it too much. So I think we're just going to wait. I'm missing one anyway, so I'm hoping if I can find an eBay set, I can find another set of 4. So let's go back over to the skid steer and we'll pretend none of this happened and we'll just put the plugs in. So I will see you back over there. Okay, we're back. Let me crawl back in there and pop these things in. God, we don't need that shroud. I was overplaying the level of importance of it. These things started. The one thing I always try and do, however, I do try and always start plugs by hand. If you ever strip them out, you are going to have such a bad time. Or if you start cross-threading or something similar to that, you are going to hate yourself by the time that you get it figured out. See? It clicked. Cool. All right. There. Got my tube of silicone paste. Just do a little dab right over the electrode. Awesome. Put that up there too. Just kind of snap these on. And there we go. Do I want it over the... I might want this over the top. Go. Sweet. So that's done. So I think next we'll probably do that air filter, or well, we can do the air filter. I didn't buy the thing for the cap yet, so we can put this in. This will take 2 seconds to do. I do usually like to write the date on these. And I know with these types of vehicles, we should write the hours. So let me go grab a Sharpie quick, and then we can do that. since the hour meter is likely rolled over, I mean, we're just going to do it the actual way. And so the date today is, I think, the 5th. So 1/5/25, and then we were at 753 hours. That's good enough. So let's get into position here, and then we'll swap that out. The powers that be won't let me get a good shot for you, so this is about as good as I got. But I did blow out the cap, so the cap is now nice and clean. So it'll eventually get probably sandblasted and painted, but you know, that's a spring project. I am going to wipe just this air cleaner, or the cleaner itself, with just a bit of brake clean on a rag quick to just get any grime out. It's absolutely filthy. And I know it's an air filter, it's supposed to catch all the dirt and debris anyway. I figured since I'm here, it looked pretty nasty when we first pulled it out, but which means it's just doing its job. Try and get back in there. But yeah, my grandpa was a master mechanic, and I was telling him about my new toy, and he's all like, you should repower it. I'm like, man, you see those engines? They're expensive. So, but he said he'd help. I was asking him if he wants to potentially help redo the cylinders, because I've never done them before and he's done them a million times. He's kind of like, ooh, yeah. He's like, I just pay someone these days to do it. So this is kind of another, it's not really necessary, but for things like this, I like to, again, just a dab of anti-seize on it. When you're fighting stupid putsy stuff like this, you are so happy when you don't have to like deal with like, cool, great, this is stuck for some stupid reason and it's in the worst spot possible. It's always just one of those like, oh, thank you that I actually put it on. And you know, it's not like this is gonna walk out, so I'm not like overly worried about it. That's probably tight. So let me put this rubber cap back on this boot. Do not use oil. Remove baffle to empty dust out. Okay. This does have a direction, so we're gonna slide that on for now. So I'll show you quick what we were kind of dealing with. So this broke off, this band over here, and my local parts store didn't have one of these square nuts, because I mean, this should be easy to fix, but I was just going to rebuild the whole thing, get 2 new square nuts, and then get a bolt to thread through it, and they didn't have any square nuts available. So I'm probably going to wait a week and see if they get them back in stock, or I might try something else. But, you know, theoretically, you know, if you're following this yourself, your final instruction is to put that back on and tighten her up. So don't forget. And this is another, I'm going to slather the bottom of this with anti-seize, because you never know how often it'll actually get removed or how often it'll sit outside. So having to not heat it up and dink around with it is the saving grace. So we did the air filter, got new plugs on it. I think next we're going to do the fuel filter. So why don't I bring you down for that? Gosh, everything's so convenient. I don't really have to do a lot of cuts here because you're just right here with me. Now, something interesting about this fuel filter. There we go, we're focused. Let me adjust you a little bit more. You're gonna see the hands again. There we go, yes. something like that. So I was looking up on Bobcat because I was wondering what to buy, because I wanted to source it local or Amazon. That counts, right? Couple of things. This hose here is a 5/16 diameter hose. That is too big. It's got to be, I mean, yeah, it's too big. Bobcats actually, they sell, it's 1/4 inch fuel line. So, see if I can find my stuff. I bought 1/4 inch fuel filter and new 1/4 inch line. So this is fuel rated and it should fit nicer. The only reason I'm doing this is it's actually a little hard to find a 5/16 fuel filter. So they do make them. The only one I could find in stock was like $16. And it was a beefy boy. It was one of the big ones. Like, it was actually at the auto parts store for a car. So I could make it work, but I'd rather just go back to stock, especially because this fuel line just looks, you know, massive. And also it needs to be trimmed up anyway. I mean, maybe it could probably be trimmed up. And then also I'm even going to guess this oil, I don't know if there's an oil return or what this line is, but I bet that's too big too. We'll address that later. We're not worried about that for now. So let me find some cutters and some screwdrivers to get this off. So let me go find that, and then we will resume redoing all this. All right, I think we're back. Heater turned back on too. So again, I'm sorry if it's a little loud. You ever sometimes, like, I don't know, depending on maybe where you're watching from, if you live in the Great North like I do, maybe not all your tools are available in the winter. The shop, which you saw one video of, has most of my stuff in it. And I just always kind of chuckle when I'm in situations like this. Like, I don't mind doing this out in this kind of weather. I'm like, man, I have the right tool in the shed, and I just don't feel like running to go get it. I'll suffer instead. Like, I've got hose pliers, and I've got better clamps out there, and I've got better screwdrivers out there. I just don't feel like going to get it. The problem is if I go get it, then I misplace it in here. Will this one come off? I misplace it in the garage, and then I can never find it in the spring when I actually need it, and then that pisses me off. That annoys me. Sorry, I'm trying to move you out of the way so I don't like tip my phone over. Yeah, it's some like massive hose. Let me, one's gonna fight me, ain't it? Let's see if I can't get this one. This one's being a little thing. Can I just like turn this over so I can see it better? Let's see. Yeah, there we go. I think that's much better. Oh, of course, this clamp is just smoked, pooched. I'm actually surprised we'll be able to get it off. Maybe. Oh, actually, ooh, there it goes. I know you can't really see. I'm sorry. This is just such a. This one's a kind of a weird spot, but there we go. All right, so got the old fuel line off. Let me turn you back over there. So let's maybe get this set up. I don't know. Are we even going to need, since we're doing the appropriate size, do we even need a clamp on it? I don't think we do. So that's good. Shove this in here. You know, another pro tip, if you want to make your life easier, is, oh, you can't even really see that, can you? You can put like a silicone, like I like to use a silicone spray, assuming that it's safe for the material that you're using, on like radiator hoses and like these rubber fuel lines and things like that. Because if you ever have to remove it, I mean, those things will get like rock hard and just will not come off even like 6 months later, a year later. So doing something like that makes it way easier to pop off. I'm not going to do it this time because I mean, I don't, if I have to cut this line in the future, I don't really care, but that's a little pro tip there. It works very well. I do it for all the radiators that I end up working on. Do we think that looks good? Something like that. Well, actually, really, we can just cut here first and then slap the fuel filter in. So I have nice hose cutters out in the shed too. Just gotta make sure we don't cut ourselves. Razor blade will work just as well. So just finish cutting this. It's not the prettiest cut, but it does cut. Wish it was just straighter, maybe. Always very careful around razor blades. You don't want to cut yourself. Now we dig into our line a little bit. We did. It's fine. We'll just cut off a little bit more. But yeah, so that's a little pro tip if you don't already do it. It does work well. All right, so these usually have a direction. My Bezos Special does not, but I believe it tapers off towards the way that you're going. Fuel comes in, filters, right? I guess. We'll find out on that one. Jam that in. I thought that's how they were set up, but now I don't know. Worst case, we can turn it around. It'll take us 2 seconds to do. It's not really a big deal. Nothing's a big deal in this world. All right, so I'll just hook that one up. It also can make sliding them on a bit easier too. If you got like a really tight fitting for some reason, kind of want this to be a little tight. So maybe like right here is where we want to cut. It can make putting them on a bit easier too if you use just something like silicone spray or... Sorry, I don't know how well you can see this too. I'm trying to make sure I don't slice my hand open. Right there's probably good. Okay, then we'll just pop this hose off once more. Or, you know, if you gotta like, you know, constantly remove and reattach a hose or something, if you're making adjustments. Silicone spray works. Yeah, that thing is not coming off now. Now I wish I had my cutters. Oh well. You can't win them all. Get out of here, trash. As you can see, I've not really cleaned up the work environment. Right here, though, this will work. Oh, God. Avoid slicing our finger open. Oh, think. I could probably run and grab the cutters by now and be done. Instead, here we are. I just cut towards your chums, not your thumb. All right, there we go. Sweet. So then I'll just reattach this. There we go. We got a fuel filter now. Fantastic. That was easy. This is the fuel pump. I kind of look like what could be a fuel filter, but I was wrong. So in a previous video, so that is the fuel pump. So, which as long as it doesn't leak, then it's great. Mechanical fuel pumps are very interesting. Just as a little side fact, that's what this is. If you're not familiar with some of this stuff, is it actually rotates off of the engine. At least that's how they usually work. And then, you know, generate a diaphragm and then pump up that way. So where like a lot of your lawnmowers may be like a gravity fed or like a vacuum. The older style, even in cars, it was just a mechanical pump. So they're actually kind of neat. I have a Corvair that will be the star of many videos this spring that uses one. The problem with the Corvair is they don't make them anymore. Clark's makes some, but they're garbage. So, but that's a different tale. So, okay, cool. That's all done. So now let's migrate over to the. Sorry, gosh, I need to figure out how I can like adjust the camera without my hand constantly getting in the way. I feel bad, and I'm terrible at editing, so I'm not going to edit it out. But let's do the breather. So what I'm actually probably going to do is move you out of the way, just maybe a little bit. I mean, you can see the breather. It's the big white thing that is, I think maybe like right there. So let's pull the breather out. I'm sure that's going to be an adventure. Where are my gloves? Let's see if we can't pop this thing off. See what mysteries are inside of it. It's just one continuous video. Look at that. Yeah, so we've got a couple of worm clamps. I'm not sure why this one's... I guess we don't even have to take that one off. So we gotta get the one up top. Excuse the view while I unscrew this clamp. Okay, so now normally what you would do once all this is off is they make tools. I have an Astro brand. Astro I actually really like. They make hose clamp or hose picks. So what you could do, if this was your hose, you can get a little pick that you can kind of jam along here to break that seal up. Again, if you didn't use silicone, or if you did, it should make it easier. And then it'll break kind of the age bond that holds this thing together, which, I don't know, we'll just have to figure that one out. I do kind of have an idea, and I think it might work. Oh, never mind, we didn't even need to do it. I was thinking I could like smack it with a hammer. I guess we didn't need to do that, so that'll work too. Oh, what the fuck? What is that? Oh gosh. Hey, look, we found something new. Okay, let me get this out first. Hopefully. Please. It is it's like snug up top is what it is. It doesn't want to move. Oh, there it is. So there's our old one. There's the carnage for you. How that happened too. That seems... I mean, the top end looks all right. And really, I mean, this one is definitely not flexible. The new one is, new to me, is more flexible. However, I think we discovered something new. What is this? Let me bring you in here. Okay, so focus. There we go. I'm going to assume this should not be loose. So I can't really see. Oh, okay, so it just comes out. I feel like there's something at the bottom holding it in. Because, like, I can get it this far, and there's, like, something at the bottom that's holding it. So that is probably a little concerning. I'm assuming it's this nut right here that looks well aged is the clamping force. So maybe we just try and put the new hose on and then clamp that down. Let's try that. So let me, again, it's kind of in the way in this shot, I'm sorry. But why don't we, well, actually, what size is that? What size do we think that bolt is first? It's far easier to figure it out now when there's not a whole bunch of stuff in the way. I think that'll work, right? What size is that? That is a 3/8. It's a little wobbly, so maybe it's a 5/16, but I don't think there's a lot of tension on that. So let's get this thing in, and so this is where I'm actually going to use some silicone paste, just kind of along this. And so all that I do is I'm going to try and capture it for you. let's see. You could also use anti-seize. I've done that before too. Actually, one second, because I like the spray more. Some white lithium. So I just usually end up just kind of a little bit around here. It's not going to really hurt the engine or anything. But especially for these aged hoses, it makes sliding them on way easier, and then removing them also way easier. So let me put you there. Make sure my hose clamps are facing the right way, or at least how I want them. I think I want this one on that side, and then that one is good right there. So then we'll bring the top, slide this in. And then come on. It's just fighting me. It's fighting me. I wonder if it'd be easier to take the air box out. It's like 4 bolts, and I think it just slides right out. Of course, what's the chance the 4 bolts come out? That's the real question we should be asking ourselves whenever we work on stuff this old. Will it actually want to come out like it should? It kind of just fell out before. I didn't even do anything, so I'm thinking if we just manipulate it enough, it should eventually want to just pop in, but I could be wrong. Oh gosh. Ooh, yeah, let's not cut the new hose. That's not good. Okay, so we're going up. Gosh, do we really got to take that? There's no way those are going to come out. We really got to take the air filter out? It came out just fine. Gosh, that would be silly. That might be what we have to do. It's really tight, and I don't want to. It was cutting along the edge of the air box a little bit, and so I'm worried that I'm going to ruin this hose. So it's just like not wanting to pivot in like at all. Oh yeah, oh, it's gonna cut it. Ooh, we don't want that. We don't want that at all. Can we? Yeah, okay, so I think we're gonna have to remove the air box, I think, to do this safely. So let me figure out what I need to do that, and then I'll bring you back probably once the airbox is off at this point. There's a couple of bolts under here that need to get removed. These 4 nuts, but then there's bolts on the other side, so my assumption is these are gonna fight me. So, but then once that's out, this can slide over, and then I can get the tube in there and then slide it basically into the tube. And then, and then it'll already be, mated down here. So this is just kind of an awkward spot to film. So I'm gonna pause, and then we'll be back at it here in a bit.